It'll take. There's a little bit of a lag on YouTube and these things. There's like a 5-second lag, so I'm expecting that we'll end up seeing things very slowly pop up into it. So let's see.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be, but hello to anybody that's watching, if it is live.
Oh, we are. If you refresh your stream now, we're all good and live.
yeah.
And
Yeah, it's live now.
So let's open up the chats. Make sure I have things there. Stream. Beautiful. JP's worried about his hair, so we'll make sure, give him compliments. That's what we're here for, not to get any work done.
I mean, it is fabulous.
Look at that already. See? Ah, geez, JP, you look great. That's the first comment in the chat. See?
How are you, Shane? Roman, hello.
So we are going to try and get some work done. That is the plan. That is the plan. We're prepping, because JP reminded me last week, or just over a week ago, that we do have Hacktoberfest coming on very soon. And last year it was pretty hectic, and JP basically said that we should probably put in a little bit more care this year on getting things right. JP started working with me, a direct result of Hacktoberfest last year as well. He did a lot of contributions for Kodu in the Codebase, and then when I was hiring, JP was luckily silly enough to join me. So thanks for that, JP.
In the wrong place at the wrong time, as they say.
Exactly. And you were telling me, like, side note on this is, but you were telling me, and you were coming up with your own concept for this of why you think Hacktoberfest is important as well. So that's probably useful for folks as well, when you're saying like how you got into open source and the community and everything else as well.
Well, it's like one of those, it's on a checklist. When you're ever a self-taught developer, what you need to do to get a job and how do you get noticed, and contributing to open source is always on the list. But yeah, it's very intimidating for beginners when you go into a repo for the first time and it doesn't make any sense. There's so many libraries and packages and different tech stacks, and even just the amount of projects is overwhelming that you could choose from. So when last year, when Hacktoberfest was announced, there was an article put on. You posted an article on the Kodu website about Hacktoberfest. I'd actually never heard of it at that stage. So when I read the article, I said I'd Google it, see what it was about, and then that brought me to the GitHub page. And the README was so good. That's what really helped me, bridge the gap between working on my own project to working on the Kodu project, because I probably wouldn't have taken the leap if I hadn't had that README to exactly tell me what I need to do, environment variables and Docker and everything like that. Because a lot of the time on them open source projects, they're overwhelmingly complicated. And it's hard to decide, hard to get the dev environment up and running without anybody to ask. So, yeah, that's how I got into it. And
yeah, did you actually build any projects before that, or was that the first wild project that you'd done outside of your own learning?
Oh no, I just on my own. Just done a few projects of my own, so it was
great. I'm surprised that the README was that good then, but I guess there's a lot of people adding to it as well.
Yeah, was it not you that wrote all that?
It was, like, I wrote the initial version, but then the great part about having dozens of people tell you what you fucked up is you get really good at documentation and things, because people complain. They're like, oh, that doesn't make sense. This isn't working. If you're lucky, people will tell you it's not working, because the worst thing that can happen is something's not working and nobody tells you. Because then it's just a silent error and people leave and don't do stuff or don't get involved because of something that I've never even known about. So that's why I'm a big fan of anyone just telling me, hey, this this is shit or this is no good.
Yeah, well, there's
How do we fix it?
at the moment there's the pre-commit Husky stopping people from committing if they don't follow the ES Lint rules. So I have to change that ASAP. That's a
Yeah,
bad
I
one.
hate pre-commit. Anything that stopped you from committing or saving, I'm all right with bad commits. Probably not bad PRs, but again, we have pre-PR checks on things that checks for linting and prettier and all of the other stuff. It's so funny. Those things catch me out even still to these projects. I did a tiny update to Supabase like 6 months ago, and it was one line of CSS that I had to add in, and it was so funny that like it took me about 6 pushes to get the linters to be all happy because I just kept on messing up one more thing.
Yeah.
And
It's a pain.
it's very funny that like you think it's going to be easy and then it's just not.
We'll get rid of that. So, and the
Yeah,
other
get rid
one,
of that.
the other big one for me that stands out, I think, as a barrier to beginners is the drizzle, because Prisma was just so easy to work with, and drizzle seems to throw a lot of errors, and it just seems more complicated, and it is more complicated. That was the beauty of Prisma, but then drizzle is I guess you could use it for more things, and it's more SQL like, but yeah, it's not as
Yeah.
beginner friendly.
Yeah, we changed Prisma to Drizzle because of the binary size of Prisma. Prisma was like 200, 300 megabytes base. So it would never run on a Lambda for me. So that was one of the issues why I wanted something more lightweight. But I would even look and see potentially um, what we could do to like pick something even different again. Like I guess it's just there's so many teething issues with Drizzle, and I hear it spoken so highly of. So I was confident based on all of the YouTubers telling me how fantastic Drizzle was. Here's a good
Yeah.
lesson: don't migrate projects because you heard YouTubers tell you that this tool is fantastic. They may be sponsored, and they may not be telling you the full truth. But just I see that explain what Drizzle versus Prisma. So they're both ORMs, which are relational mapping tools, I think is what it stands for.
Object
And
relational.
yeah, and it just lets you use SQL in like object notation so you can get to functions and make queries. So rather than writing raw SQL, you get the helper functions and you can say dot something and it will autocomplete stuff and help you and stop you from really screwing up the SQL queries. Not necessary for a lot of things, but for fully typed code bases, it's very handy to have an ORM these days. And I think that's why Drizzle and Prisma are popular as the typing. And that's why.
Prisma is very simple. It's very simple to use, and I think how do you filter noise from useful info? But yeah, Prisma is very simple to use, but Drizzle allows you to do a lot more joins and more complicated SQL queries. I think that's the benefit of it. It doesn't abstract things away, so it does have its benefits, but probably not for beginners.
It's just different as well. I don't see it being majorly different than Prisma, to be honest. But that's just, I guess, maybe that's my
Well, I
own
think I read something
ignorance.
that Prisma does a separate query. So if you do a join on numerous tables, it does a separate query for each table and then amalgamates them, which is very slow. Whereas Drizzle actually uses the raw SQL to make very fast joins on tables and very fast queries.
So it is quicker.
Yeah, I think that's the main advantage of it, as far as I'm aware, anyway.
I see Roman asking because that's a useful question. How do you filter noise from useful information from YouTubers? That's very difficult. Like anytime you're getting if you're implementing things from opinions or whatever else, like it is a maturity check of things. It's like how long is something be around of. One of the major telltale signs that should have been a red flag that I picked up on before, and I would always say this to people, it's just again, ego is a wonderful thing where you think, That's other people who mess up, not me. And the Drizzle is not even version 1 yet, so it is unstable, which means every so often I'll minor bump stuff and it will break things. So depending on the maturity of a project and depending on how risky your project is, you might not want things, because a lot of people are excited when the first drafts of things come out, because just a draft. The people are trying to learn and uh, they are very excited about different things that are coming along, and the potential's there, but we really probably shouldn't be shipping it to production. And then I'm just like, let's just ship it to production and see what happens. And usually it's not fantastic.
Well, that's another, for me, that was another major standout difference between Prisma and Drizzle. The Prisma docs are, at this stage, they've evolved. They're pretty damn good, whereas
Yeah.
Drizzle assumes a lot of knowledge, and it wasn't very helpful when we were doing that migration from Prisma to Drizzle. I was looking at the Drizzle docs and I was like, what the hell is going on here? It was really hard for me to try and figure it out, whereas the Prisma stuff is just so simple.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I would have, knowing what I know now, I might have changed it, but then again, it's probably going to end up with me just doing a whole new a whole new project.
Super
Then
base.
maybe it's something for Hacktoberfest then as well. So we'll see.
There's
Yeah, Superbase
there's
is probably one of my favorite projects, but again, it's new. So should you throw all your eggs in that basket? It's still new. It's getting a lot of hype. Uh, it works very well. It's probably the best developer experience I've ever had when it comes to the database tooling, because you can use it in so many different ways, but it's still simple. Because usually when things are that flexible, they get very complicated very quick as well. So it's a nice balance.
Yeah, it's beautiful to use Super base. I have to say, I love it.
Uh, yeah,
But
it
look,
would be interesting to see. But again, we're getting way off on times. That's one
yeah,
of the
we're not here to
great
talk
things.
about
Anytime
switching
I
over
chat
and
with you, yeah. So issues we are trying to set up for Hacktoberfest. The big thing that we want to get ahead of this year is having issues and projects that people can jump onto and get into the code base and start learning and testing and applying their skills, and have something to show at the end of the project as well. So I think we'll open up. You've been doing an Excalibur. Will I show the Excalibur? And we'll
stick
start
it up
running
there.
through
Yeah.
it. All right, zoom right in there as well on it. And
Well, we'll do an overview here first. So maybe we
okay.
can share this with everybody, but I just tried to share it now, but I can only share that live. Mode.
Never give chat control of anything.
No,
That's what I've
it
learned.
was just shared that they could see it. So if you can't see, but each of these boxes is basically a feature that we're going to be working on. So there's not a whole lot in this, keeps jumping up in the boxes at the moment, but each one of those is a feature that we will be working on longer term. So there's the
You might
course
need to zoom in a
platform.
bit there.
Yeah. So we'll start with this here. The in those other boxes, the other longer term features that is the course platform, the jobs board, the discussions, and the redesign. I don't know if you've ever shared publicly the redesign Figma files.
I haven't, but we can go over them maybe next week as well, because I think that's one of those things that I've been really struggling to break down because of it's such a drastic change from what we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot in that. So the onboarding form is something that I was working on, but there's a few bits and pieces that need to be fixed on it. So we're going to open up those as issues for someone to take, or maybe I can easily see maybe 6 or 7 issues that we could get out of this. Just to jump over here, this is the onboarding form. Just gets relative information of user, like their demographic information, name and age. And then there's this where to ask them if they're a student or a professional. So we want to add extra information here, specifically in this one, where we ask them their how many years of experience they have. So that's straight up. That's an issue that we can do, where we ask how many years of experience the person has, and maybe a drop down with 1 to 20 or something. And then obviously that'll have to be updated in the database.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you were suggesting the last day with this, we could have an avatar, because in the settings page, which is here, we have this avatar, which comes in from GitHub actually. So we want to put that in with the demographic page as well.
And we could probably start with the default one that we have as well. But that's a fun little issue that we could add in, to add that in, because the problem solved is just where we put it. That's all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That reminds me. Actually, in the settings page, then right now, in the database, the user's name comes from GitHub. So my name would be John Paul Larkin, and it's just one field, John Paul Larkin. We'd like to split it into John Paul and Larkin, obviously, because within our onboarding form, we're taking separate first name and last name.
Yeah.
And
so there's a migration from the full name to the first name, surname.
Yeah. So right now in the database, there's first name, surname, and name, which is both together. So a migration script to split that, and then that would also require a redesign of the settings page, and then we're getting into the whole component library, the Catalyst component library that we're using.
Yeah. And that we have to amend for our own styles and whatever else. The Catalyst component library is something that I've been using. It's from Tailwind UI, not Tailwind itself. Tailwind team have a library, a paid library called Tailwind UI that you can use in your projects as well. So I've imported some of that for a recent project. I've really enjoyed them. So I thought, you know what, for a lot of our components or the base components in the forms, it'd be useful to use as well. So that's pretty cool.
So if you look at this is the onboarding form. This is actually built with the Tailwind UI Catalyst components. So this is the inputs and drop downs and everything. So it's all based on Radix, is it? Radix UI? Yeah, it is. Yeah, Radix
yeah.
under the hood. So it's all accessible and just to keep things consistent across the site. And
yeah.
So this is the old profile settings page as it is now, and that uses the old components. So that would be an issue for someone to come and switch out those components and replace them with the new Catalyst ones.
Would you do me a favor, JP? Would you just jump down onto your share button, just the arrow beside it, just see if you're sharing in 1080, just to make sure. Just the same way we were checking our video earlier. Do you know when you're in the stream panel in our software?
Find the bloody thing first.
Wherever the share button is, just check if you're sharing in 1080. It just might bump up it. It's grand on the.
When I click share, it doesn't give me an option to share in 1080.
So if the little arrow down to the right of share.
Yeah, it doesn't give me an option. It just says end my screen shares.
I'll end it for a second then and just check, and we'll jump into it. Look, this is the first stream I've done in ages, so there should be a little button or toggle button to say share in 1080 on the arrow.
Nope.
The same as, you know, when we could change the quality for the video.
Should be sharing there now.
Yeah, that's all right. Don't be worrying. We'll keep going.
Yeah, I'm not getting anything. I'm getting it for the video, but not for the share screen for whatever reason.
No panic. We'll look at it afterwards.
Why the quality's not great, is it?
No, it's just on the website itself. It's just a bit low res. That's why I was wondering, is it's downgrading it by default? A lot of these things do just downgrade these things by default, but not to panic. Okay, so the first name, last name, refactor settings page, including new components. Yeah, and I think just all those inputs and having them all accessible by default is a no-brainer as well. And even minimizing probably the clicks around the page as well be useful.
So the migration obviously would be one that would have to come first. So if it comes to it, that's probably something I could do myself before October, rather than have it as an issue, because someone could take one of the other issues before they before that one's taken.
Well, look, the other thing is, I'm not going to Hacktoberfest, although it's a one that you always get people involved in. I don't want, like, people can start taking issues today is the plan, and also continue through Hacktoberfest, because there is the whole problem with Hacktoberfest, which is people just change one letter in 3 different places, and then they say, "Great, I won Hacktoberfest." When in reality, we're trying to help people become open source contributors, and not just the Hacktoberfest stuff as well. So it is about making stuff easier and making it fun to collaborate and do stuff, because that's the problem.
Yeah, I think the trick to it would be correctly labeling the issues, like good first issue.
We should come up with a ranking for them after another time. We'll come up with some like levels for them. Are they beginner friendly or not?
Because I don't know have you ever gone on that website, Good First Issues, which just basically amalgamates all the tags from GitHub. It's pretty good, but like the variation between what is considered a good issue is quite astounding. Some of them can be incredibly complicated.
Yeah, that's true. What else then? So like all this onboarding, this is super important for the community in itself. This is one of those things that most people dislike, but I need, because it's the only way we can get partners and sponsors and people to fund all the open source development. So just before everyone gives out to me for that 30 seconds of work I've added to the sign on, it is because people like to know what demographics and everything else their partners are looking for. So we're working with the likes of AWS and other big companies as well. And they need to just tell their bosses basically who they are supporting in the community. It's, again, what you notice about all these big corporate companies is nobody wants to look like an idiot. Everyone wants to look like they have data and that they've really thought things through. So the more data you can give people, the easier it is to get people to
so we just make it up.
Yeah, just we could just, here is a graph going upwards. That is our community. It's the easiest thing to do. Right. So what else then? We have that.
There's stuff going on in the chat here which I haven't been noticing. Light mode. Monica says light mode.
What are you talking about? Light mode for the issues or for the Galadraw, or what is it? And then the screen looks better on YouTube than it does on LinkedIn. I probably shouldn't be streaming on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has always been problematic. And then, all right, Shane is saying, I don't think the public have access to modify the labels on repo on GitHub. Yes, and that is on purpose, because we don't want people spamming and changing things and editing things. So you'd have to be like a part of the team to be able to edit. You have to definitely have the whole thing set up so that people can't just spam things, because the other thing is inverse. If people could add stuff, they could remove stuff. So it'd be very easy for people to just go and delete things. We have had some really weird, shitty people come into the issues and like put up things and even like open issues to abuse me on things. I didn't realize GitHub does have a block functionality that I
apologize about that.
Yeah, well, you had a lot of beers that evening, so
you deserved it, to be fair. Right. So one last issue before we move on from the onboarding then is we need to do a check on login for the onboarding flow. So if someone hasn't onboarded, they need to onboard before they can get access to the site. But if we were saying the last day for the older users, if they're registered before a certain date, then we give them some kind of an explanation why we want this data off them.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense, just so when people come back and they're like, why the hell am I suddenly not able to just save an article or something?
So
This
then this is
is the OG of Hacktoberfest issues. I wish Daniel, we may reach out to Daniel and see how he's doing as well, because poor Daniel put in so much work into this last year.
the last time he posted. He said he was in China.
Really?
Yeah, he
Maybe
posted
that's why we haven't heard from him since.
He posted a couple of weeks back saying he was in China. Now, he didn't say if he was visiting or he didn't say anything, just said he was in China. And the last thing I'd heard from him before that was he was saying he couldn't find a house to rent in Meath, where he's living.
So now he's in China? That sounds about right.
Yeah, quite a commute.
A commute from China to Meath. Meath is a country county in Ireland, in case anyone is outside of Ireland watching this.
Yeah.
The editor has been something that we've had back and forth on for well over a year. This is one of those features that's been very, very, very hard to ship because of the amount of noise and opinions and everything else on this. So last week, myself and JP sat down and he tried to interrogate me to get the information that we need to build this, like what we were expecting from it. And funny enough, we have all of the parts, so we're trying to strip away a lot of it and then add in a couple of more features, but it is mostly there.
Yeah, I think the biggest one was the WYSIWYG, which, if you like me don't know what that means, it's what you see is what you get. I didn't have a clue what Niall was talking about when he said WYSIWYG. But basically, right now in the editor, you can edit it with Markdown, and you have to press a preview button to see what it will look like when it's posted. And a lot of sites do that. A lot of the older school sites do that. But Niall was looking for something more like Medium, where when you edit it, it actually appears as it will appear when it's published. What you see is what you get.
Yeah, and like WYSIWYG is often not actually what you see is what you get. It's nearly like bold is bold, italic is italic. It doesn't usually translate directly to as WYSIWYG as I want it. I really love Medium's editor. I used to write on Medium years ago and I used to take notes on it. I really liked the editor just because it had so few options compared to other editors as well. And that simplicity for me just meant you were limited by the noise. You didn't have to overthink things for formatting. So for ourselves, I was hoping to create that simple Medium style editor for people to be able to edit things, be able to paste over some rich text and use a few shortcuts and just generally use things you'd expect from a mature editor. We have a lot of that right now, don't we? What are we missing?
I'm actually sharing the tab, not the window. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a second and share the window instead. That's alpha. I'll just go to the
That's actually
new
another one that we
editor
have
as
to
is.
fix as well. The 404s don't have the default like layout on it as well, so we should probably have the default like layout around the base 404 as well. That's another fun issue.
Let's stick it in the list. Yeah, so this is the new editor as it is. This is not the editor on the site. This is the one in the alpha, which Daniel made last year. If you want to go through a few bits on it.
Yeah. So the really fun part about this is there is so much you can do on this editor, but there is too much you want to do on this editor, and that's the big problem for me with this is there is so many different options. We have one thing that I dislike as well is the fact that we have to preview to see the article when we could easily have this as a thing in its own right, where it just is exactly as we expect. I do like the slash options for inserting elements. It's pretty handy. And I think most coders are used to having little slash shortcuts on things anyway. And it is a coding article. But like I want to get rid of, say, the middle align, right align, the squared, the tables, and even like say a YouTube only link. getting like a media tag in there. So like whatever you paste in, whether it's a tweet, whether it's a code pen, that we format it right for people so they don't have to think about it as well. So it's just simple. So the more we can take away from the other options, like that bar up the top, I dislike because it just looks shit.
So now,
but
right
I
now,
do want a lot of functionality.
There's a toggle to toggle it on and off, but you want to get rid of it completely. And
Yeah, I want to make
obviously,
sure it just looks like the article, like the end thing that you're going to publish. So you don't need to preview it. You see exactly what you're about to release, basically, without clicking the preview button. And on our current article, because it's all Markdown, we need that preview, because without it, you wouldn't be able to see what your article looks like beforehand. And there is a big difference between like just raw Markdown and the output. Whereas in this rich text editor, that's no longer a problem.
So we've got the highlight toolbar here, or tool tip, I guess you would call it. So you want to get rid of, say, the strike through, and you want to make these all icons basically, rather than having
like a link there should just be an icon, and that's inline, so that should probably be with the bold and the italic, and then a link instead of the strike down. The text one is okay because that changes everything at a block level, and there's quite a few options there at the block level that we might change things at.
So you want to leave all them. You want to leave all of those as is, right?
I think the numbered list we're going to get rid of.
Numbered, yeah.
That's an option. Because, yeah, I don't know. We can always add these things back in if people complain enough, but nobody's complaining yet because we haven't released anything. So that's always the thing. Ship it, get some feedback, and see what people want or don't want from it as well. So
yeah. So from an issues point of view, there's a ton of issues involved anyway. But the WYSIWYG is kind of the big one, because you were saying the last day you wanted to include a certain amount of the Markdown elements like H2, H3.
Yeah, some of the shortcuts for activating the things that we do have, basically. So if we can,
code blocks is the triple backtick, and inline code. So if we come over here, and right now, if we do a triple backtick
and press, yeah, there you go.
So
if you press enter after the triple backtick, it should do it as well. So,
and then this auto infers the language that you're using.
Yeah, obviously this is actually an issue in itself as well, because we should have this up on the top right hand of like the code block, so that's not so freaking crazy.
So this might show it as well. This is where the preview mode comes in. So if we click the preview, we see what it will look like. But we want to go WYSIWYG so that it's just as is, and that's how it'll be published.
Yeah. And in reality, that'll be closer to what we currently have on the articles. I might even open up some issues to restyle the current articles, because I'm, there are some things that I'm just, it's not that it's bad. It's probably just I've looked at it too long now and I'd like a little change. It's like redoing your personal website every year, isn't it? You get bored of it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. But yeah, I don't see the point in having all the options around here, when in a lot of this we can have shortcuts and helpful shortcuts and things to just make things easier.
Yeah. So there's an absolute ton of small issues here that so like, for instance, the title as it is, the placeholder for the title is it's a bit too much. So you just wanted to have it as just title. So that would be a really good first issue for someone, that they just have to come in basically and edit the text and maybe edit the styles as well to make it just make it look a little bit better, I guess.
Yeah, more opassity or something.
If we're going to have are we going to say to the people we want it to look like X, Y, or
we would, if it's part of the issue, you'd have to. If it's not part of the issue, then you wouldn't. So if the issue is update the placeholder, then the issue is just update the placeholder. You don't go in afterwards and then say, by the way, we also meant do this and this. And
Well,
those
then,
small issues, I think updating the placeholder for this and updating the placeholder for the body is a great first issue for somebody, because it is just a placeholder tag that needs to be added.
yeah, and if we actually, where did I want to do that? If we go back over to the issues in Excalidraw, so simple feature set, the tooltip we've discussed. Yeah, so the media is, I guess, a big one. How people add images and links to YouTube videos and things like that, how they're formatted and how they're uploaded. So that will be a bit more complicated. That won't be a good first issue. That'll be something maybe a step above that. Well,
This
I
is probably
mean,
why we need some ranking on this as well, because it could be a bit chaotic for somebody who's like, maybe this looks okay, and then they do it.
like right now we have these, Daniel put in these media image and YouTube links here on the toolbar. So we're going to have it in some kind of a, here within the slash menu, I guess, or so that from there you can add a YouTube video and it will infer the link from the link to metadata and display it correctly in WYSIWYG.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And then like there is the whole thing that I had said as well, which is a migration we need from this for plain text for search, and then having the JSON that it expects that we use to create all the nodes and things. Because like each of those blocks, for folks to know, like each line in here or each block is like a JSON field with a type of thing and the content for it that creates the DOM tree for us. It infers all that, and that's how it builds up this thing. So it isn't trivial, but thanks to that library TipTap, it's a really good library.
Yeah, I haven't really got into it yet, but I did look at the code earlier on and see that it touches 21 files right now. Also, that is, yeah, that's something else to be mentioned, is that right now it touches 21 files. There's a lot of components. There's like Daniel put in a shit ton of work in this, and there's so much involved. But the likes of this toolbar, when we're going to remove this, and a lot of these things won't be used anymore. It won't be just a case of removing the toolbar. We're going to have issues around someone who will actually go in and say, well, that code is now dead, so we're going to have to remove that, and hopefully simplify it a lot.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because my favorite kind of PRs as well are people who just get rid of code for me as well. I'm not saying please don't go in and just delete the code base. That's exactly what the next person will do then. It's like, you like removing code, eh?
Yeah.
Next PR is deleting the code base.
Well, it's kind of a tricky one because it's hard to know if something is being used somewhere else.
Yeah, if anyone has a library or knows of something that does some tree shaking or something to let us know when things aren't being used, I'm sure somebody's built something like that. Whether it's accurate or not is the next thing.
Is that tree shaking as such? You know, like dead code elimination.
Yeah,
Is that,
like
is that,
of course, because like
is not a bit, is tree shaking at build time, or
yes, it is.
is there a word for that?
It is, but I'm just wondering if there is something based on that kind of model of tree shaking that you would say,
Yeah.
hey, these folders or these files aren't touched, or these functions in these files aren't touched. So implicitly, the code won't be used, but for somebody that's coming into the code base, code will still be there. So it's a problem, because you go looking in the code base and you find files that don't do anything, and you're wondering, is this important or not?
Yeah, well, I think I went searching for a library that did something like that, and all I came up with reasons why it's complicated to do, basically. And I definitely did come across libraries, but I just gave up on the idea because I just wanted it for something simple, and it just seemed like way too complicated. So I left it. But yeah, there has to be some kind of solution to that.
What else is on our list here?
Rich text for comments editor. Yeah, so we want to add that same kind of formatting to discussions, to comments when people make comments underneath articles.
Yeah.
The Django templating syntax, that's an issue that's been there since last year. It's because when someone was putting in Python code, it was the escape characters basically from the Python code were messing with the markdown, I think, was it?
Yeah. It wasn't
So
escaping, and then you could not show the syntax properly without adding a space in, because the curly bracket percentage is a way to escape and add custom tags inside the markdown library that we use right now. Anytime anyone was putting in a Django template, which uses the exact same syntax, it would escape that, and because it wouldn't find anything, it would just basically remove it. So it would just be void, basically. There's just nothing. So you get an empty string every time somebody was trying to use that Django template syntax. That should go away with the new editor. And that's why I put this off for so long. It's like, well, the new editor is coming and that won't be an issue. But that was a year ago.
Yeah, so that's the thing. If we're not going to be using, this comes back to, I don't really know too much. I presume you don't know too much about the TipTap editor as such.
I did. I built the first version of this myself.
All right, I've
I
never
implemented
used
the
it.
very start of it.
So it comes down to a fact that can we rip out all of the markdown stuff and just leave in those few bits and pieces of markdown that we want to use without complicating it and without having it as having to use the preview editor. So whether we can or not, I don't know. We just have to figure it out.
We will find out.
But that's probably something we should probably figure out ourselves before we start putting up issues for people, because it'll contradict with the issues we have.
Yeah. Now there might be some issues that rely on other issues, if that makes sense as well. Because even when I was saying the editor, probably the best editor to start on is the comments editor, because it's a stripped down version of the things, where we probably just want bold, italic, and maybe images so people can share memes. That's important.
Very important.
Give image reactions to things. So that's probably an important one as well to look at.
Hello, Adrian, in the chat. He's probably 11:05.
He's probably, I thought he'd be sunbathing in Spain. All the pictures I see from him is always just sunbathing somewhere.
If it's not in Ireland anyway. No, it's pretty nice out today.
No, that's for sure.
So this section here of the Excali draw is just general issues which didn't really fall into the category of those other features that we were discussing. So the
I like this
GitLab login.
on my comment there. One picture is worth 1,000 words. That's why we need to have images as reactions, because sometimes you can just get your emotion and like cross with just a nice little meme. All the memes. Anyway, sorry. You continue. What else do we have on the GitLab login? And hope, like, again, GitLab or somebody I approached about partnership, sponsorship before, and they were like, "You don't even have a GitLab login. Why would we talk to you?" And it's like, that is fair. So, and it is a great platform. It's a really good platform as well for open source and everything else. So we should probably look at adding some GitLab logins as well, because we're not tied to GitHub or anything. It just happens to be where we host our project. But we use GitLab and GitHub. Well, we use GitHub as a verification mechanism because it stops people creating spam accounts. And every so often we do get people posting spammy content. And just by having your GitHub linked to it, it adds enough hassle for people that they don't tend to spam, which is nice. The changelog is a good one. I might get on Eddie from Eddie Hub to talk about that. He does a lot on the open source stuff. He's a GitHub star and he's talked about releases a few times. I'd like to get his info on how we should potentially approach that. Might be a good one of these streams to get him on for. See how we enable something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that takes someone who's deeply involved in the code as well and is good with documentation.
Yeah, well, it's just again getting some advice on what's a good and bad application of this shit as well, you know.
Uh,
Oh, look, this is a good question as well. That is something that JP is meant to be working on right now as well. Are you working on a
um,
how-to video for setting up environment for beginners?
Absolutely, it's on the list.
Yeah, we planning on having videos as well. In fact, we're probably going to be meta about this. I would love if we had a mini course on the Kodu platform about setting up the Kodu platform. It would be very useful. So, you know, contribute to open source by setting yourself up on Kodu, maybe. So that'd be fun.
Mhm.
But yes, JP was on that. He has been looking at new haircuts and everything as well before he videos the
I might
series.
get a
You know,
perm.
get a perm. Yeah, there you go. That'd be ideal. But yes, there is videos we're looking at for that. I think it'd be very helpful. The OG images, the blog and thumbnail images, I want them updated because it's part of the brand change. But if you like look at the newsletter and some of the new branding and stuff that I have, I've gone even heavier into the space theme. It's gone navy. There's a little spaceman I have that I'm using in a lot of places that I'd like to add to all the OG images. Twitter previews has been something that's been broken for a while. I think I just don't understand why that's broken. So that probably is, it's not a difficult issue. I think it's just more of a testing and trialing things to see what we're missing or have a typo somewhere. I assumed that the metadata from Next.js or the meta tag would have done this automatically, and it does not. So I'm wondering if we've just screwed something up there. And the event section from Alpha, this is a fun one. So Remo from JS Day in Ireland here, last Hacktober, he put in an entire events platform onto Kodu, and it was like a ton of work and things in there as well. He he's a big community fan, and he thought, you know what, we're doing big events. Possibly we shouldn't be using Meetup, which I agree. We should be hosting our own events, etc. So we are going to remove his event section from the alpha and all the dependencies and get rid of that in favor of a whole other open source project that we're working on. I have just started an event platform that I'm making open source as well, because I didn't want, like, I guess I want Kodu to be a coding community platform. I don't want it to be an events platform. And a lot of the decisions we make, we have to decide what we don't do as well. And I think one of those hard lines was the events itself. We are looking at uh, having our own custom domains and everything on our own events platform, but I just didn't want to, you know, a lot of noise in the events and things as well. So just for anyone that's wondering.
And I guess it's similar to the editor. It touches a lot of files. There's quite a bit in it, and there's quite a few components. So would want someone who knows what they're doing to rip it out, because there's so much to it.
And it
Just makes
touches
it
the
more
live
difficult.
code base right now as well, because it is in the schema. So we need to
Yeah,
undo the schemas. And there is groups right now in the schema. So we probably want to get rid of temporarily or for now anyway as well. I would like to have groups so that there's categories and tags and things properly. But again, we chat about this. Maybe tags are a better way of doing all these things than groups.
yeah. Next on
Um,
the list.
yeah. Tags. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Uh,
So there's up until this point, when people write an article, they can put in whatever tag they want. And Native saying he wants to infer from a specific list of tags, so that they can't just make up their own tags. And to be fair, what's the number one tag? JavaScript?
yeah, JavaScript's the number one tag, but that's probably because I've written 400 articles on JavaScript. So it might be biased by my own writing. So that could be a problem about my writing rather than what the community actually asking for. So like the thing is, if we want to be able to have a better list of tags so that people don't end up putting in a typo, or at least their content gets found. They have that type ahead so that they can see what tags are available and what are popular tags as well to use, because there's nothing worse than having loads of random tags with just like one thing in it, and you go start searching through random tags and you just find one article or one tag. Like, I have tagged this article with Nile, and it's just like, well, that's silly, because it's not really a category that I would search for.
There's a lot of possible tags as well, though. I mean, you could go down a rabbit hole of creating tags.
Yeah, and maybe it's somewhere in the middle where we let people do free tags, but show the number of tags or the popular tags when you start to type. I know that's what Medium does, which is pretty handy. Is when you start typing a tag, it will give you suggested tags with the count of those tags, so you can see how popular they are. And if your tag doesn't work, you can just add in a new tag.
That does make sense, yeah.
But again, it depends how much we want to
see
clean this
on
up.
this issues list here. I'm thinking like it's outside of the editor or the onboarding, but a lot of these, a good few of these issues are more advanced than the easier ones that we'd be making for the good first issues.
Yeah.
So
like the next ones, yeah, the tags, that's a complex one. We'll probably need to communicate deeply on what we're trying to. That's a whole issue that we need to figure out in ourselves, and what we actually want from the tags before we set that on anyone. So removing anything related to SST. We were using SST for a while. We are not using it now. We're just using Vercel. We are also using Docker and Fargate on AWS for a while. So we have Docker in there as well. So there's going to be an issue to remove anything related to SST. There's going to be an issue to remove anything, or just there's a single Docker file, basically the Docker file to be removed. Removing dead and redundant packages. Removing the Git logo, well, the Kodu logo from pull requests, because it's just a big image that's inside all of them. And use and unused dependencies when removing code. Yeah, that's another big one. Is often when you delete code, you forget to remove dependencies when they're important as well. So that's a big issue. We'll probably find some of those things that have been missed, and we'll open them up as issues, as like easy issues for people to go in and just say npm remove or npm delete. I can't remember what the shortcut is for it, but yeah.
Right.
Now, where are we at?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. The course platform, there's just a few bits. There's not much on this anyway. This is just a general kind of a chat about it rather than anything concrete.
Yeah. So yeah, we want to. So I've been writing a lot of article series as script for free video courses on the platform as well. So this is one of those big features that I'm dying to get into the platform, because I'd love to be able to deliver free, useful courses for people to follow along, save, and get progress and earn a certificate if they want as well on this stuff. So we've been looking at things that people might be used to using, things like Udemy, Egghead, those sorts of things, which have really intuitive, simple to follow along courses. Every video standing by itself. That's more of an editor thing, so that's more for myself and JP's knowledge. Egghead is just a really nice, simple UI that I like as well. They've always been just top class in quality for how they deliver content and their UI as well. Course with call to action. What is a course with call to action? What's that mean?
I was just looking at that myself, going, "What does that mean?" I'm not sure. I think you were mentioning last week that you were waiting because you wanted to do a course, but you were waiting for some call to action first. I think.
Yes. So this was because when I've been wanting to create these videos for YouTube for ages on the courses, but I didn't want to just make it for YouTube. I wanted to, when I make these full courses, I'll put them on YouTube as well, but I wanted to make sure that I can start those courses and say, hey, by the way, we have Odoo, the platform that you can go and save your progress, etc., of this entire course, basically. And that's why we're going to probably start off with unlisted YouTube videos to break this up. And then we'll look at how we can make an optimized like CDN for delivering video content on our own platform as well, so that we don't have the YouTube branding or imposed ads if they do that to us or whatever else. It'll just be easy to do. The course page sections, we have text-only courses, video courses, and quizzes. In reality, I think we're just going to start off with plain old video. That's the only thing that we'll do. One video to the next video, being able to save your progress. The quiz is generated server size, quiz min marks required. We're going to maybe we'll do a final quiz on things, but we'll see. FAQ. The FAQ is very good, and this comes from, if we could have discussions for each video or discussions linked to videos, it'd be very handy, or comments underneath the videos that people can chat right in the videos as well to figure out any issues they've had with a video as well. So I think that's going to be a useful thing as well. But that comes back to having the comments editor. Then it's very simple to add in comments for videos as well.
I guess then if people are repeatedly run into the same issue and they comment it and they ask it in the FAQ, you'll realize, wait, the video maybe needs to update it. Maybe some packages changed or something along those lines.
Yeah, or we need to call out, even update the video, just because often with updates on these things, you can just put in a call to action, say, by the way, this version has changed. You don't even need to edit the whole video. You can just say, don't.
Yeah.
Just add this one character and you're fine now.
I guess that's why you were bringing up the point of every video stands by itself, which Egghead do, so that no video is dependent. If it's a series of videos, they all work independently.
Yeah, and they are a masterclass in editing videos, I think, anyway, as well, for anyone that likes content creation or things like that. I think they are a masterclass in how to create good, engaging videos, especially in a series, because you can just pick up one video in a series and it kind of makes sense by itself. Whereas a lot of videos are like, wait a minute, I have clearly missed a lot here. I'm trying to figure out where to drop in.
Yes,
so
that's it. I guess the course platform is more of a general discussion for the future, because I don't think there'll be much going on for Hacktoberfest for that.
Oh no, I want that in for Hacktoberfest as well. So we'll figure it out. We have a couple of weeks left to get things. So look, we'll open these issues and see where we can get to with some of these things as well.
Because there's a ton of issues in this, the onboarding and the editor.
Yeah.
Like there's at least 30 small issues there, which would be nice. And if they're all well fleshed out between now and the 1st of October, at least there'd be a lot of stuff there for beginners to come along and they could take them.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. The only other thing that we haven't touched on, is it on your list, the jobs board?
It's in as a feature, so each section has a feature, but there's literally nothing in there.
Yeah, we were looking at Smashing Magazine had a very simple jobs board under thing, which was just a form followed by a Stripe payment screen, and then it's posted for 60 days. So I think that's basically as easy and simple as it gets. The jobs board is just something I was like, it's probably something we should think of. We have thousands of developers, a lot of developers looking for jobs as well. It's a win-win for us, the community, and funding the open source projects as well. It means JP gets to eat if we get money in the door,
I do like to eat, so that would be handy. The discussions is another feature.
Discussions, again, is reliant on our new editor and our new comments, because I've been playing around with this stuff. Like the discussions, I want to make sure that we have our nice editors in place, our comments editors and whatever else. It should feel something like Reddit or one of those places where there is the
upvoting and downvoting.
Upvoting and downvoting, but I want to make sure that they're hidden upvotes and downvotes as well, because unfortunately, platforms like X or Reddit or whatever else can often have like a mob mentality where like you see 10 downvotes and everyone's like, yeah, fuck that person in particular.
Yeah, I do like downvotes though, personally. I hated when YouTube took the downvotes away.
Yeah, I agree. Well, certain things like quality of content, like quality of videos, that makes sense on YouTube. The downvotes were required because like if it's a video on CPR and it has 10
Like,
likes and 10,000 dislikes, but it's been watched a lot, you're like, huh, let's watch this terrible video on
yeah,
CPR
and I
then
guess
really
that's
quickly.
down to the algorithm. To are you going to write the algorithm, the Kodu algorithm for comments? Because those things can get
Yeah,
quite complicated, I think.
we'll figure that out. But again, each of these things is an action or a reaction to stuff that we have to fix along the way. So we don't have to have all the answers to start. We just have to have the data and then see how we use that data to improve the comments that are shown or hidden or whatever else as well. It also involves having lots of comments before that even becomes an issue. So again, I'm always an advocate for let's not optimize before we even have a product.
Yeah, then I guess the last feature then is the redesign, of which there are Figma files, which you probably could share. And
Let me see if I can pull them up here. Show folks where we're at on that. I'll share them here on my screen if you want.
yeah, I'll stop sharing. So
I can hide you for a second. Don't worry. Still there. Oh, JP's left for some reason. Hopefully he jumps back in. I'll go through this. I think he just accidentally kicked himself out of the stream. Oh, he's back. Technology, eh, JP?
but from stop sharing to dropping out.
Yeah, that's it. Let me open up this here. Screen, window, entire screen. I'll just zoom in on for a second. So this is more of the theme and styles that we're going for in a new version of Kodu. There'll be some adjustments based on my own taste and flavors and these things, but we are going to basically have a significant theme update on our styles and whatever else as well. We could definitely do something fun with this code here as well. I'm not really sure. Updating our feed, having discussions, featured posts, potentially even podcasts that I've been planning as well. Another million things on my list. The events I'll probably strip out for now because I'm going to use a separate events platform because that's not really what this platform is about. Just some benefits, some other things that we need to show. Our newsletter signups as well, which are useful. Just these general themes. I think it looks modern, different, and not the same as every other platform out there at the moment as well.
So yeah, I guess there's quite a bit of planning involved in breaking down the component library that we're going to use and the theme for the styles and everything, so that it's all in place. That if someone's going to do something, all that background work is already done for them.
Yeah, and I want this incrementally updated as well because there's nothing worse than trying to plan a big bang update like this. The Superbase community do this really well. They don't ever do big bang releases. They always do incremental updates to their UI, things that make sense. So, for instance, we'll probably update our color scheme one day to be navy and this new gradient or whatever else, and then work from there as we sort of add things like the backgrounds stuff here. Yeah, there's a lot going on. Like it's this, there is so much stuff here that we haven't even looked at for folks, but I think it's a really cool new design. I'm really excited about.
Yeah, it looks great. It's a big step up from what's there at the moment. So
Yeah, major.
It's much more detailed.
Yeah, so that is what we're going to be working on, and then I guess
Walmart is a sponsor.
yeah, we're just gonna say I'm just picking out companies here. Well, these are companies the designer had picked out as sponsors. They are not sponsors, but if they'd like to, I do take money.
If you reach
Uh,
out to Walmart.
Let's see, right? Stop sharing. I didn't kick myself out. You see, that's how you stop sharing like a pro.
Fantastic. I just don't have your experience and knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Brilliant.
right, where are we at? Let me switch it around. What we plan on doing then some of this week is getting some of the issues started and detailed issues. It might even be a useful task to write up an article, JP, when you get the first one of like how to write a good issue, because that's often an issue for people when they're trying to describe. Um, Absolutely, I would knock Walmart for the tech. They actually have a phenomenal tech division. They weren't here in Ireland for a long time. I remember I had a couple of friends working in there before. They had to do some anti-terrorist training here in Dublin while they were working for Walmart. I thought that was unusual. There was only 2 of them in the office.
It actually looks like an awesome shop. I want to go there. A store, as the Americans would say.
Yeah, maybe when they sponsor us, they'll fly us to see a shop.
Like you literally get on. I think they have a Walmart in London, don't they? Or they
Do
have
they?
a couple of them in the UK. I think. Or no, what's the one? Costco.
Well, it's Costco. Yeah, that's a different
We should put them in a bid war against each other. Who wants to sponsor Kodu?
one. Exactly. Right. So we'll get some issues up. Probably put some manners on how we do them. I think we're just gonna start picking up issues. If anyone sees things that they think we should have as an improvement to all of this stuff, let me know. If there's things you think are missing right now, or even things in the Discord that you think are missing now, that's always useful as well. I do have a couple of upcoming events as well, which is nice. We have the is it next weekend? No, it's not next weekend. It's the weekend after. I'm starting an indie hack hours once a month as well for founders in Dublin as well, or people who want to be founders in Dublin to start their side projects on the weekends. So we're working with Baseline to get their office space over the weekend so that people can code and collaborate on their side projects. And then Full Stack Fiesta. That is going to be a fun one. I was on to a vendor this morning. I don't know how feasible it is with the short turnaround, but I'm trying to get custom beer made.
Custom beer, really?
Custom Kodu beer.
Okay.
So
Hoppy, or what kind of a beer are we going for? An ale?
pale ale is usually what I
Pale ale.
like myself. Yeah, I like a
Nice.
pale ale. For anyone that doesn't know, I used to work in I was the first community I started was a beer club. So I have a lot of contacts still in that industry. So I reached out over the weekend to somebody and said, "Hey, who will make me a custom pale ale with my own labeling and everything else?" And to see what price that would be. No doubt it's going to be ridiculous, but I like ridiculous things.
Okay, let's do it. We could just get some other beer and put a label on it, cover up the original
I
label.
did also say like I'll take unbranded beer either if there's a good pale ale, and I'll just get labels. Just get a marker, cans of Kodu.
Sounds like the cheap way to do it.
Yeah. So let's see how that goes. I'm not
What
sure
kind of
what.
capacity are you talking about for the Full Stack Fiesta?
I have. I'm assuming there's going to be 300-ish people. So
what's the like capacity of the venue?
About that, yeah. Coding
Yeah.
juice. This is a interesting one. Maybe we'll have a competition, coding juice as a thing. I was literally thinking that I could have on the label saying, "Try coding after 4 of these." It's now going to be like it's leak code on hard mode. So if we can get a nice strong ale
Gets
to
the
make
juices flowing.
to get the yeah, it'd be fun to see. Yeah, so we have events coming up for indie hackers, events for our regular sort of web development quiz, and just a night out really. So I have 4 hours blocked out in for folks to come along, and I'm sure, as usual, people will stay out afterwards as well. That tends to happen a lot. And then yeah, we'll be planning the next one's stuff as well. But we are hopefully going to get over the next 2 weeks these issues up and ready to rock, and also figuring out the great part about when people start coding is more issues always arise because you find something else as soon as the issues come in. So I'm looking forward to just getting the issues started and seeing what people do and how to get on with.
Well, I guess it should be pointed out as well for anybody who's watching that a lot of these issues are really beginner focused, because I'm pretty much a beginner myself anyway, and just put myself in the shoes I was in last year when I went to start this. But obviously, there's probably a lot more advanced programmers out there who are absolutely invited to jump in, and obviously they'll have a much better idea of what's involved. Rather than just focusing on beginners, obviously people with a bit more skills would be required as well.
Yeah, it's a mix of things, as always. All right, I think we'll call it quits for today, JP. We'll do this again next week and keep on pruning this stuff. We'll hopefully have some issues started, and then we can add some more issues next week and see where we get to.
Cool. It's fun. I'm now officially a YouTuber.
Yeah, YouTuber. I'm sure the sponsor deals are on the way.
Walmart.
That's all we're waiting for. All right.
Cool.
I'll chat to everyone next week or during the week or in the Discord. Talk to you soon.
Bye bye.